Hi everyone, it's Annabel. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be repotting my Cattleya Monte Elegante, which as you can see has grown rather huge, and I'm kind of shocked at the size progression on this latest growth. So I wanted to repot it with you guys, just talk a little bit about its care. I've not actually flowered it yet. I got it from a relatively small plant, and it's just kind of produced 1 to 2, mostly 1 growth a year, 1.5 growths a year. It's not the fastest grower in the world. Yeah, I'm quite shocked at the size progression, so I kind of wanted to make a video because this is one that you're going to need to make some room for in your collection and have plenty of vertical shelf space. It's not the fastest grower in the world, so it's not like you're going to have suddenly a very large Cattleya in terms of width, but height wise this is kind of surprising to me, the growth jump, and I don't know if we're maxed out or whether this is going to grow some more still, but like this is ridiculously huge. So when I got it from Orchid Garden, and the latest growth that it had some damage in transport. It got a bit stuck in the sheath and it got damaged, so I can kind of track its progression from this growth that has the hole in, because that was the new growth at the time of purchase. So it's produced in my care. Just get you in closer. So this is the new growth it had when I got it. So this was done in somebody else's care. It just kind of finished off in my care. You can see where it got, it produces this sheath and where the leaf was when it arrived, and it had some damage there. So that's what I got it with. And then it produced this in my care, which attempted to bloom. It made some weird little buds. See if we can get you in there. But they just dried up. They weren't like, it didn't produce a sheath, and I don't think this one does produce sheaths, but it just, you can kind of see the remnants in there actually. It tried to make some weird little bud things, but they never made it. They just dried up. So then it produced, towards the end of last year, this new growth, which didn't attempt to bud or anything. It was winter at the time when it matured this, I think. Can't remember exactly. And then I think during winter it started this new growth, and it's finished it in my care in spring, and you can see the huge size jump. So this latest new growth is doing something in there. But I don't know what. So we will see, but it does need repotting because it's right at the edge of its pot now. I'm going to repot it. Luckily, I do have a next size pot which was sent to me by Nina, which I'm going to be repotting into. I'm just going to adjust you before we start potting, because obviously I've had it so you can actually see the plant, and we need to see the root system. Okay, so this one has been kept in semi-hydro with leca, or a self-watering pot with leca rather. And it's doing very well. It's currently in active growth, so it's branching the old roots as well as producing new roots. Seems to like quite a lot of moisture, this one. One thing I'm going to do with this is replace the old leca, which is a little bit smaller grade, and put a new leca mix in which has some pumice in there. And the reason I wanted to really get rid of all this old leca is I've started doing that recently after seeing one of Nina's videos where she suggested that she wonders if the reason why semi-hydro fails after a couple of years is that the roots kind of choke the air gaps in the leca, and people obviously, when we repot in inorganic, we're like, oh, this doesn't decompose, this doesn't degrade, we'll just pick the whole plant up, put it into a new pot and fill around. And that kind of made sense to me actually, and I do fiddle with my orchids a lot and I repot them a lot, so maybe that's also a reason why semi-hydro works for me kind of longer term. But I thought I'd just try starting to do that more regularly and see if I notice a difference. I'm going to take this one out and shake off all the old leca. So I've taken the orchid out of the pot, got quite a good root system which was trying to go down into the reservoir there as well. So I'm just going to try and shake this lacquer off. So I've got as much kind of lacquer out of that as I'm willing to, because I don't want to damage the old roots, because with Cattleyas, if the old roots do get damaged, they do tend to kill them off, I've noticed. So I'm just going to poke around a little bit more and just brush off what I can, but hopefully that's created some air pockets that wouldn't have been created otherwise, if I hadn't attempted to remove some of this. Okay, so we're just going to position the orchid into the new pot, which is one pot size up from the previous pot. And there is a little back bulb section at the end here, which is completely rootless and not doing that much for the plant. So what I may do is take that little back bulb section off. Oh, a leaf has just dropped off it. You can see the leaves are looking a little bit worse for wear. In theory, yes, this will still be providing some energy storage space for the plant, but it's not got any roots, so it's not going to be contributing anything other than an energy store, which is, yes, very valuable. But what I might do is just take that off, just to give me a little bit more wiggle room in the pot, because those are taking up space that I can definitely free up. So what I'm going to do, sterilize my tools, 70% isopropyl alcohol. Just going to snip this little back bulb portion off. And just going to apply some cinnamon to this cut here in the rhizome, and then I'm just going to keep this because I may be able to propagate this. So doing that will probably stimulate any available eyes that are on this back bulb portion to try and create a new lead and create some roots. So I might be able to create a little plant to give away to a friend. I've noticed that sometimes when you cut the rhizome on a Cattleya, it actually stimulates new growth near that rhizome cut as well. So it doesn't always happen, but this might even activate an eye on one of these bulbs here, maybe. Just applying some cinnamon to the cuts, and you can see you've got a nice clean rhizome on that little back bulb section. So I will just pop this into a little cup with a little bit of lacquer at the bottom and see if anything sprouts. I did this with my Tokyo Magic, and I'll show you actually because it's just started a new growth. So I took a little back bulb section off my LC Tokyo Magic when I was doing a similar repot, and you can see that a new dormant eye was kind of activated. It stimulated new growth, and it's now got new roots down the pot. Before this, it did obviously shrivel a bit and yellow a bit, and it popped this one out very quickly because it's very vigorous. So rather than chucking little portions like that away, it is always worth just popping them in a little pot and waiting and seeing what happens. What I do is just keep the reservoir full, just to provide a bit of humidity, and just chuck them on the top there. So that one has, when did I divide it? 20th of January. So it took a month or so before I started seeing a new eye, and then maybe another month before it got to that stage and produced new roots. But it is now, and they're getting down, so that is a good sign. So I might be able to give this one away once it's a little bit bigger and established. And hopefully, I don't know, this one's a bit small, but we do have 4 back bulbs there, so it's definitely possible to propagate from that. We'll see if it's got any available eyes or not, but definitely worth not throwing it away. Just popped that little back bulb division into a cup, and I can update you guys on what it's doing. Actually, I put the date of the division on here, so it's just a little bit lower in the cup because this will increase the humidity around it just a little bit, just help to stop any dry top layer issues, and also it'll increase the humidity around the plant while it's got no roots. When it does start developing roots, what I usually do is take them out and fill up as normal, but just until they've got roots I like to put them a little bit lower in the cup, and we'll see what this does. I'm just going to carry on with the repot. I've made a cut in the rhizome, so I need to be careful not to get this wet and to leave this well above the area, but usually I would probably leave this to dry out for a little bit, but I'm just going to be very careful of it. So I'm literally just going to fill around with a mixture of lacquer and pumice and position this towards the back. So can see it's got a very slight climbing habit, but nothing too bad. But what we want is for the newest, the growing end, the kind of the lead, to have as much room in the pot as possible. So I've just been filling around, and I've taken it out of the pot to double check the filling and how that is going. So obviously around the front half where I've left more space, then it's nice and easy to fill around. But the back half where I put the roots kind of quite close to the pot, we've got big air gaps, and we do kind of want to try and fill them, because if they are left, they're going to decrease the how efficiently the semi-hydro or self-watering system is actually going to wick. So we need to try and fill them up with some material. So what I like to do is just try squeezing the pot. And usually you can kind of fill it just with squeezing the pot alone. And if that doesn't work, what you can try then doing, just getting a tag, just putting it down. So I'm happy with that. There is a little air gap at the bottom there, but I don't know how well we're going to be able to fill that. Okay, so I am happier with that, because the reason is, obviously we do say air pockets are good, and they are, but not big air pockets like that, because they're going to affect how evenly moist your media does stay, which is very important obviously with semi-hydro or self-watering, because a lot of the main issues come from the fact that we can't necessarily control it to create an evenly moist environment at all times. So we just need to be doing the best we can. And as you see, I've tried very, very hard to avoid damaging any of these new root tips, because those are pretty vital for the growth of the plant. Ideally I probably would have done it before it started roots, but it's very difficult to judge with this one. Sometimes it starts them earlier, sometimes it starts them later. So that is my Cattleya Monte Elegante all repotted, and I'm then going to water with my normal fertilizer mix, which contains seaweed, rain mix. I'm not going to put a top layer of pebbles on this one because it hasn't had problems with the top layer, and if it's not necessary I won't do it. So that is my Cattleya Monte Elegante all repotted with a bit more room for new growths in this new pot, and a little backbulb division taken. We'll see if that does anything or not, but either way it frees up some more room for the orchid to progress its growths into the pot, and hopefully they don't get that much bigger than this, or we're going to have some issues putting it onto a shelf. Maybe this will bloom, I'm not sure exactly. It's got something happening up there, so fingers crossed for it. Thank you so much for watching today, and if you enjoyed this video then don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates, and I will see you guys all later. Bye!